How to Boost Reading and Writing Through Play is Georgina Durrant's second book, published by Jessica Kingsley Publishers. As the name suggests, it's all about finding playful ways to help support children with their reading and writing. Now, if you're anything like me, it's a constant challenge trying to find new ways to encourage my children to read and to write. And I've personally found the creative and fun games in Georgina's book incredibly helpful at encouraging my 6-year-old and 4-year-old to practice their reading and writing skills. In fact, an extra bonus that my 6-year-old even reads the book to find out new ways that he can practice his reading and writing. So it's got a double tick from me. Now, the book is out today. Georgina's just been showing it off, and here it is. You can buy it from any major bookshop and online. It's already had some pretty amazing reviews. You might have heard of a couple of these people: Michael Rosen, Greg Bottrill, Claire Russell, Dr. Helen Ross from the British Dyslexia Association, and Chris Dyson. However, your reviews are equally important, if not more so. That algorithm, all of those algorithms, makes a massive difference to the success of a book. So please, once you've had a chance to read the book and once you've had a chance to purchase it or indeed win it tonight, leave a glowing review on whichever shop or online provider you buy it from. It really does make all the difference. And to thank you, we're giving you a discount code so that you can use on the JKP website to get 20% off this book. And that also applies to Georgina's first book, 100 Ways Your Child Can Learn Through Play. This is a great Christmas present for all of those busy parents, those primary teachers looking for a bit of different inspiration, or SEN education professionals. The code is DURR Launch 22, and we'll add that to the chat now for you to copy and paste. It's a mark of how much of a parent I am of children learning how to read and write that I had to really stop myself doing that phonetically. Launch. I managed not to do it. So we're now going to share a very short video on behalf of Amy from Jessica Kingsley Publishers.
Good evening. I'm Amy Lancaster Owen, and I'm one of the editorial directors at Jessica Kingsley Publishers. I am absolutely delighted that we have published Georgina's new book, How to Boost Reading and Writing Through Play, here at JKP. And I wish Georgina huge congratulations on this publication today, after all the incredible hard work and thought she's put into writing it, and is now putting into getting the word out about it to her readers. We are super proud that Georgina's brilliant book and its fantastic predecessor, 100 Ways Your Child Can Learn Through Play, were both commissioned by Emily Badger as part of JKP's growing inclusive teaching and learning list for educators and parents. I'm going to talk about some of the things we think are most exciting and interesting and useful about Georgina's new book. There's increasing concern about younger children's literacy, especially after the pandemic, and this book will help parents and teachers boost kids' literacy skills, but not at the expense of missing out on play. The first chapter is a really helpful way in because it lists the common barriers to reading and writing for primary age kids and suggests ways to help support children with each one. This includes everything from specific learning differences and neurodivergent identities to left-handedness and self-esteem. Every activity throughout the book has a tick box at the bottom, and this was a very popular feature with readers and reviewers in Georgina's first book too, and the layout of the book is excellent. The tick boxes enable parents and teachers to identify which other skills alongside literacy children are developing in each activity. So it's a really holistic approach. The final chapter contains a set of hacks, which I think readers love, easy to use ideas for parents and teachers on how to draw out a child's literacy skills just in everyday life. Theo Prophytis, a dyslexic entrepreneur, wrote the foreword. Michael Rosen endorsed the book on the back cover, as did Greg Bottrill, the author of Can I Go Play Now? Chris Dyson, a head teacher, Claire Russell, the founder of Play Hooray, and also Dr. Helen Ross from the British Dyslexia Association. What an amazing lineup of supporters, and amazing useful content tied to a pressing need from an expert author sharing her invaluable wisdom and insight into these issues. Happy reading, everybody.
So without further ado, I'm delighted to introduce Georgina. Now, full disclosure here, I've known Georgina for many, many years. We went to school together. It's a real challenge for me not to call her G, because that's what I knew her as when we were 15 and 14. So I'm a bit biased when it comes to Georgina and for hoping that she has tremendous success with this. But So Georgina Durrant is a former teacher, special educational needs coordinator and director of Cheshire SEN Tutor Limited. She founded her award-winning SEN Resources blog in about 2017. We're not completely sure on the date, but certainly about 5 years ago.
Laura messaged me this afternoon to ask me, when did you start the SEN Resources blog? And I didn't know.
So we're going to say 2017.
If anyone wants to write in the comment when it was started, that'd be great.
And this is a fantastic resource for sharing activities, advice and recommendations for parents and teachers of children with special educational needs and disabilities. And as I've said before, my children don't have those needs, but I still find all of her activities incredibly useful for my children as well. She hosts Twinkle Resources Special Educational Needs podcast, because everyone should have a podcast these days, called Send in the Experts with Georgina Durrant. Her parenting and education advice has been featured in The Independent, The Guardian and The Telegraph. She's written articles for SEN magazine, for Nursery World magazine about special educational needs. And her first book, 100 Ways Your Child Can Learn Through Play, was published in the summer last year. And it is a staple of my activity with my children. So hi, Georgina.
Hello.
So Georgina, we're going to run a Q&A now using a mixture of some questions that we've gathered from social media over the last week or so about the book, and a few of those here tonight. But the first question is from me, host's prerogative.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book from your own words?
Yes, I can. So this is the book. And as the name suggests, it's full of ways to help kids with their literacy skills. Most of the activities don't involve, in fact, pretty much none of the activities involve sitting, oh, I need to let somebody in, sorry, involve sitting at a table with pencils, paper or books. And instead, you'll flick through the activities, you'll see sort of water balloons, what else you see, role play, ice, some monsters made from pasta. And I completely get if that doesn't fit with your view of how you sort of teach children literacy skills and how they should read and write, because many of us were brought up, weren't we, with like, you have to read and write sat at a desk. But I invite you to let go of that idea and realise that sometimes it can happen through play, and embrace the activities, give them a go and see for yourself the positive effect it can have on children, not just on their learning to read and write, but on their self-esteem and their sort of a view of literacy, because we're sort of selling it to kids as something fun. And as a former Senko, I know that reading and writing doesn't come easy to many children or adults. And there's many barriers that children face when developing these skills. And these might be due to like specific special educational needs and disabilities, such as dyslexia. And I get that play-based approaches aren't going to diminish these special educational needs and disabilities, but they are a more accessible way of learning to read and write, and they take the pressure off children, and kids like to play. Play is fun. So it's your way in.
Absolutely. And I'd extend that to say it takes the pressure off parents as well, trying to think of new ways to entertain your kids. Sometimes you just get so fed up of sitting down and just plodding through the same text and trying to really inspire something that it's just, all they have to do is sit and write, and that doesn't necessarily come easy or in a fun way for kids. And
kids aren't made to be sat down, are they, Laura? Like kids
I can't get my kids to sit down when they eat, let alone when they're trying to do their homework.
They're not made to be sat down at a desk doing reading and writing like that.
Exactly.
They're made to be running and jumping and climbing and doing all of that stuff. And I wanted, there's a chapter on active play specifically for that, for kids that don't want to be sat at a desk. So all kids and want to be running around and enjoying themselves and having fun, and sort of, but just bringing along your literacy skills with that and helping them have fun, playing outside or playing in the classroom or playing at home, and just running about and climbing and jumping, but also developing their literacy skills whilst they're doing that. And also, ironically, it actually helps them write, does running around and jumping and climbing, because you're developing those sort of gross motor skills that then help them sit at the desk. And so you're not giving them a disadvantage there, you're actually giving them a huge advantage to help them then sit at the desk and do the reading and writing. So it's win-win. I'm seeing Helen Ross. Sorry, I can see Helen Ross nodding away, so I know I'm doing all right. Dr. Helen Ross is in the audience. She was one of the people who endorsed it for me. She's from the BDA.
There we go. And I know we'll come on to dyslexia a little bit more specifically later on with regards to Theo Paphitis' opening statement that's in the book. You've mentioned about ages a little bit. You've touched on early years. Who's this book for, G? Is it for young kids? Georgina, I did it, you see, Georgina. Is it for young kids? Is it for just early years? Who's it for?
It's for, well, people keep asking me this today. I'd say sort of 4 to 8, but I don't like giving ages because there's so many children that work like not at the chronological age that they're at. So that's sort of the age range. But if you've got an older kid that's working at that level, then that's equally fine. So I wouldn't want to put people off or stop people buying my book. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, 4 to 8, I would say.
Great. And how's the book structured? How many activities are in there?
Yeah, there's 40. My kids wanted me to call it 101 ways to learn through play and just put an extra activity, but I couldn't think of 100 ways to boost your reading and writing through play, so sorry. So there's 40 activities in the book. The book's structured slightly different to the first one. I felt like an actual author when I was writing this, because I actually had to sit and write and not just fill it with activities. So the first bit is an introduction. It goes through sort of the barriers to reading and writing, things that kids find difficult and the reasons why, and some ways you can break down those barriers. Obviously not all the barriers to reading and writing, but quite a lot of them. And then there's 40 play-based activities, and they're separated into different chapters. So there's like sensory ways, there's crafty ways, there's active ways, etc. And then at the end, I like the end bit, there's the hacks. So reading and writing hacks, ways you can sort of build literacy into everyday life, either in your classroom or as a parent at home, and sort of help kids to develop their literacy skills without them even realizing. So things like reading to their pet hamster and I don't know, making a reading nook, taking them to the library. Just none of it's like rocket science. It's all stuff that we know, but sometimes you need to be reminded of these things, don't you? And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So yeah, that's in the back.
Do. And I was away with friends about a year ago. They all had their little kids with me, and I'd managed to leave mine at home for the weekend, which was glorious. And I was playing with their kids and coming up with all these creative ideas, lots of which I'd stolen from your book, G, and then totally claimed as my own. And they were saying, well, how are you coming up with all of these ideas? I don't understand. That's like, because I haven't got the parent stuff in my head. I don't need to be thinking about when they need to go to the toilet or what snack they need, or what other tasks I've got to do today, when I need to hoover, all of the life stuff that happens around being a parent and having kids that you need to be helping with reading and writing. I don't have the headspace for that when my kids are around, when it's a normal day. So this book is brilliant and just giving me those prompts. So I pick it up and think, right, let's do some writing, let's find something creative. I don't need to sit there and think I've got to come up with something creative, because that for me is a barrier, because I haven't got the headspace. I can just pick up the book, open it on a page, and fantastic, quill writing, let's get going. They're going to love that. So that's one of the reasons that I think it's such a fantastic resource.
Thank you. Can I just point out, for quill writing, you don't need a quill. No one needs to go and buy a quill, just so we're clear.
We'll come back onto resources in a little bit. In terms of favourite activities, I've mentioned the quill writing there. There's one about pet passports, which my kids just absolutely love. Is there a favourite activity that you have, G?
Yeah, I find this question really hard. And I remember you asking me in the first book lunch, and I changed my mind. I think my favourite today is page 38, for those of you who've got a copy with you. It's so funny. I can see just a few people like looking around. Have I got a copy of them?
Yes.
Film easel writing. So basically, it's writing on a vertical. So you get some cling film, and then you go under a chair. You wrap the cling film around the legs at the bottom of the chair, and then you put your kid underneath the chair, and then they have a go at writing on the cling film. So it's a vertical surface, isn't it, for them to write on, with the light shining through. It's a lovely sensory experience, but it's also really good for gross motor skills, which are the your big muscles, because you're sort of doing it upright, so it's really good for them, and it's fun. Like, who doesn't want to hide under a chair and write on some cling film? It's brilliant fun. And the reason I like that one the best is because all my kids always have to try these activities out. They're like my testers. And I just have real fond memories of them being under the kitchen table doing this and enjoying it and saying, oh, this one's really good, mummy. So I thought, oh yeah, that's my favorite. So yeah, that's my favorite one.
And that brings me nicely around to the illustrations in the book. We haven't yet mentioned the illustrator extraordinaire. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, G?
Yes, the illustrator is my brother again, my wonderful twin brother, who is coming. I don't think oh no, he is here. I can see him. He's here. He was on his way back from somewhere. So yeah, he is here. I can see him. Hi, Chris. I don't know if I can find you, Chris. Can you find him, Laura?
Oh, I'll try.
I don't know if he'll want us to find him. There's too many people.
I'm not sure he's got much of a choice now.
We're looking for you, Chris. Anyway, Chris, you can unmute yourself if you wanted to, Chris. We might be able to see you. But anyway, Chris is my illustrator. He's brilliant. He's my twin brother, and I love him very much. And he's done all the wonderful illustrations just because I asked him. I think he might regret that I make him do them. I think the first book, I didn't tell him there was going to be 100 activities, and he was like, ah! So
yes, you very much didn't. Yeah.
There he is. Hi, Chris. Let me just spotlight you.
Hello.
The spotlight. There you go. There's Chris.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, so he didn't know how many activities, but I think you were grateful that it was only 40 this time.
I very much was, yes. No, but it was very fun, like really, really enjoyable thing to do, to sort of imagine the things that you've been imagining and try and put pen to paper and kind of recreate that.
Yeah, it helps that we're twins. You can sort of read my mind.
Exactly.
Or not, because we got a lot of messages like, what do you mean by this, G? Say this a bit more. But yeah, and also the illustrations Chris made, I asked him for the kids to be a little bit older than the first book, because the age range was slightly older. So I love that the kids do look slightly older, not like wrinkly or anything, but slightly older than they were, which is really nice. Thank you very much, Chris.
Well done, Chris. So moving back on to the content of the book, we've talked about a little bit about dyslexia and about the foreword that you had put together by Theo Paphitis. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how that came about and why you thought that that was an important element to bring into this book?
Yes, I feel like this should be a more exciting story than it is. Like I should have bumped into Theo Paphitis as I was walking around and then asked him to write the foreword, but no. He runs this Small Business Sunday thing on Twitter and on Instagram as well, where every Sunday he picks a handful of winners whose businesses he really likes, and then he promotes them and you get to go to an event. I've not actually been to the event because COVID came, but anyway, so yeah, each week he does this event and this award, and one week he chose my business, which was very, very nice. So I've been sort of on his radar and I've got some details from him that way. And then I noticed when I was writing my book, I noticed in the media him talking about his dyslexia, and I was like, ooh, maybe he could write my foreword. And I think everyone who I spoke to about this thought I was being ridiculous that he wouldn't email, and I thought, well, there's nothing to lose. So I sent him an email and said, would you like to write my foreword? And then his team said yes. So that's how that happened, which was very, very nice. But the foreword, for those of you who've got the book, who've read it, it was completely his idea. I can't take credit for the way he's done it, but he's written, so he's dyslexic himself, and he's written two versions of the foreword. First one he's written is spell checked, and then the second one is how he would write it without spell check. And I think that's really powerful because it just shows he's so successful. He's incredible what he's managed to achieve. And that's how he writes about spell check. So it just goes to show that dyslexia doesn't need to be a barrier. There are ways around it, and what he's managed to achieve, and sort of, yeah, a brilliant role model for a lot of young people and for parents to see as well, I don't know, gives you, yeah, makes you feel.
And how your mind works when you have dyslexia. I hadn't ever seen someone writing who was dyslexic, knew very little about it. It really shone a light on it for me as a layperson, as someone who hasn't had a huge amount of experience of that. So I think it's really powerful, as you say, and just if you have a child who has dyslexia, then it's a really, really useful way of understanding how that part of how their mind works in that way, and how you can then help create ways to learn, to help them learn. So G, we've touched on this again a little bit, and this is part of that what we were just saying, but what makes your book different?
What makes it different? When you pitch your book, you have to say to the publishers why they should publish it and why it's different to other books. And if you Google reading and writing books for kids, a lot of them are they're just activity books. A lot of them are ones where you've just got to sit and do some cursive writing, or where you've got to trace some letters, or it's a lot of that sort of stuff, and it's activity books that the kids got to sit at a desk and write. And I thought, why isn't there anything else? Why is there nothing where kids are being kids? We've got to think about what our clientele are. They're not mini people, mini adults. They're not mini people. They are mini people. They're not mini adults. They don't want to sit at a desk and they're not built for that. And I didn't think there was anything really out there. So my book's different in the sense that it's for kids. And it's for kids to actually enjoy and to run around and have fun and play and develop their literacy skills on the way. And also it's got that tick box that I think, yeah, I'll show you on there. So it was in the first book as well, but it just shows you what skills your child might be developing whilst they're doing the activities. And I've kept it the same. Obviously there's the literacy skills isn't a tick box in this one as it was in the first one, because all of them are literacy activities, but it shows you if they're developing like emotional regulation skills or numeracy skills or social skills, etc. in there, so you can feel a bit empowered and be like, oh great, I've done, what's this one, driving down masking tape boulevard and this could potentially have helped with their social skills, it might have helped with their language and communication skills, and you can be like, oh great.
And I'm assuming, not being a teacher myself, but I'm assuming for lesson planning and curriculum planning, that's an incredibly helpful resource.
Exactly. So yeah, it can help teachers feel empowered, that they know that they're sort of covering a lot of bases. They're not just covering literacy, they're covering lots of different things all in one go.
Yeah, fantastic. What's your one top tip for boosting reading and writing through play?
This one was one of the ones on social media that I saw, and I was thinking, because I wrote a whole book on it. So when it says one top tip for boosting reading and writing through play, it's like, yeah, how do I can't read you the whole book. So no, my biggest tip I think would be to think about how a child likes to play, like their actual free play, and just to bring literacy along with it. So all of the activities in this book won't be suitable for every child, and there will be activities in here like my other book that kids won't like, and I'm not going to be offended. Change them, adapt them. Like if it's, what's the one you like, the pet passports, if they hate animals, who hates animals? If they absolutely hate animals, change it from pet passports to, I don't know, dinosaur passports. Do you see what I mean? Like, yeah, adapt it. And yeah, my tip for boosting reading and writing would be to think about what they like. And say, I don't know, they like playing with dinosaurs, then maybe you could make a museum for their dinosaurs with them. Trick is not to let them know they're doing reading and writing, it just so happens to come up in the play. So they could be you could make some little signs for their toys. This one's a Parasaurolophus, this one's a Brachiosaurus, whatever, and you put I'm just showing off my dinosaur names, you put your little signs on there, and then you could do like a poster for the dinosaur museum. You could make some tickets, you could build it into a whole thing, where they've got to do loads and loads of reading and writing, and they haven't even realized. You might even have to research museums, you might have to research all the different types of dinosaurs, like bring it all in. Teachers are great at doing this. And yeah, the trick is just make sure they don't realize it's reading and writing. It just so happens, because in real life, like apart from when you write a book, because that is writing, reading and writing just comes naturally, doesn't it? It just comes as part of things. It's not something that so I just think, bring it into play, bring it into what they like. I'm waffling a bit now.
No, not at all. I was just thinking, if you can spell Parasaurolophus right now, then I'll send you some champagne in the post.
Watch everyone. Parasaurolophus. There we go.
All right, someone can check that for me, because I don't know how to. I don't want to click off my screen.
I don't want to check that. I get some champagne from Laura.
You'll get some champagne. I will send you champagne in the post if you've got.
Don't, Laura.
We mentioned this earlier. You talked about this amazing dinosaur idea. That sounds fantastic. I think I'm going to try that tomorrow. Do you need lots of resources, or need to spend a lot of money on these sorts of activities?
No, not at all. The first book, 100 Ways, I wrote during lockdown when you literally couldn't go to the shops. So all of the activities that I was trialing, I had to do from stuff in my cupboards. And I think people really liked that, because, well, who doesn't like that you've got all the stuff there? It's just really handy. And, you know, budgets are tight in schools, budgets are tight at home. The worst thing is if you get a book and it's got loads of activities in, and you're like, oh, can't do that one, can't do that one, can't do that one, because you've not got the stuff at home. So yeah, everything should be probably in your cupboard, or if not, very, very easy to resource and cheap. So yeah, I've made sure it's very accessible for people, because I know times are hard and the last thing you want to be doing is that. And also it's like when you're baking a cake, if you get like a fancy recipe book and you look in it and you're like, oh, I want to make that cupcake, and then you've got none of the ingredients, it's really annoying.
You end up with star anise in your cupboard for about 3 years, and just going off because you've used it once in a Christmas biscuit 3 years ago. Not speaking from personal
I feel like this is a story in itself, Laura.
No. I used all my star anise straight away. It was fine. You did spell Parasaurolophus right, by the way.
You're not getting me champagne, Laura. Don't
We'll see. Right, this is going to be a tricky question. It's almost as hard as which child is your favourite. Which book is your favourite, G?
So I wrote down, this is so funny, this is how well I know Laura, because I wrote down some notes for this one, and I literally put, I feel like this question is a bit like asking someone to name their favourite child. They're on the same wavelength. Yeah, it's impossible. I can't tell you which one's my favourite. I do love them both. The first one made me an author, so it's going to be special. But I'm really excited about this one because yeah, hopefully it can have an impact on kids and make reading and writing more accessible, and parents and teachers to have more fun with kids and people to play more. Yay.
Absolutely. Right, that has come to the end of my questions on this paper, so I'm going to scroll up a little bit and see if I can find some up here. Some chat about a cat.
Is there?
Possibly not as relevant.
Oh, which is your favourite chapter of the book? I've spotted a question.
There you go.
Am I allowed to
Let's
do
go
this,
for that
Laura,
one.
just to choose questions?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Laura Jackson, hi Laura, thank you. It's other Laura. What's your favourite chapter of the book? My favourite, I think I'm going to go with the active play one again, because I know how important moving around is. Like I was saying before, lots of kids don't want to be sat reading and writing at a table, and I think having activities where you can run around and do all of that and be developing your gross motor skills at the same time is really, really important. And yeah, I think I love the idea of people doing those ones as well and running around outside and developing their literacy skills. I have like an image in my head of kids doing it, so maybe that's why it's my favourite.
Yeah, definitely. I think Helen would agree. Says Georgina, I'm a dyslexia specialist and love the multisensory nature of the book. I guess I'd like to know what inspired you to write this book, because I love it and I'm very nosy. I hope I've done that question justice, Helen.
Was that Helen Ross again? So what inspired me to write it?
Yeah,
I think two things. Firstly, sort of the pandemic, I was very aware that kids, there's a lot, I hate the word catch up, but there's a lot of pressure on teachers and parents to sort of catch up this like pandemic generation with their literacy skills. But I was really concerned that by catching them up on this, we'd stop them from playing because actually those kids have missed out on play. If you think of like a year 3 child, they were in reception when the pandemic hit. So their main play-based year was, they were pulled out. Then they had year 1 was disrupted as again another play-based year, and then they were into the more academic years, so they've had a huge impact on their play. So I really wanted to sort of do a book that sort of balanced the two, that let kids play whilst developing literacy. I said there was 2 reasons. I can't remember what my second reason, my second inspiration was, but there was 2. It sounded good when I said 2. I can make it up, but I can't remember, so no.
Got a nice question here from Nicola Muzz. Any plans, for a follow-up focusing on numeracy?
That's a good idea,
isn't it? If you hadn't already planned that, you should claim that.
I haven't planned that, but maybe, who knows?
I think that would be a very good idea. Numeracy is just as challenging, especially with my little girl. My little boy's fine with maths, but my little girl hasn't quite got it, doesn't enjoy it quite as much at the moment. I'm sure
I think that's a huge barrier as well, that with maths and numeracy, it's not my expertise, but I think a lot of people get in the head that they don't like it and aren't very good at it, and then it becomes a barrier in itself. There's a lot of talking about like maths anxiety and maths concern. Maybe, I don't know, I hadn't got a plan to do that, but you never know.
Maybe. Just scrolling up, I absolutely loved musical spelling. I have 2 children on the autistic spectrum, and they're both heavily motivated by music, so sound. So this is perfect.
Oh, that's so lovely. Has that person actually tried it already? That's really cool. I think I know who that. I think she sent me a picture today on Twitter of the book in Cafe Nero, which I was really excited to see. The book in the wild is so exciting. In the wild, because before that it's literally just on my computer as this huge manuscript that looks really dull. So then when you see it like photographs of people with the book in places, it's really, really exciting. I think that one, if I'm right, was was the person who sent me a picture of it in Cafe Nero, which made me excited. But that's lovely, thank you.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like when you see a teacher's not at school, it's like, oh my goodness, they exist outside of the classroom. You can't really.
This book exists out of my computer.
Exactly. I'm just scrolling up, see if we've got any other questions. That one coming. are there play-based activities that you could use with older children in the book? Someone earlier said that they work with children aged 2 to 19 and that this would be applicable to all of their learning levels.
Yes.
Seems to me that play is just learning, but without the pressure, and we could do with some of that for our older children who have struggled with literacy too.
Absolutely, and that's why I think I struggled with the question earlier when you said about what age range is it. I'm always sort of, oh, when people say what age is it, because actually it doesn't really matter, like whatever age it suits. If older children enjoy that, then great. And also you can tweak it, like I said, like I'm not precious about the actual activities. I don't know the kids that are in front of you, so change them. The active play ones are really going to be suitable for all ages, really. And yeah, you could just change a lot of the sort of imaginative play ones. Might be a bit, the theme might be a little bit younger, but you could easily adapt them for older children, just sort of tap into their needs, their sort of their likes and dislikes, and make it age appropriate. I think what you don't want to do is make them, I wouldn't do them exactly as they are in there, just so they don't feel like they're too babyish for them, because that'll put them off. I would definitely sort of just change it so it's a bit cooler. But yeah, use the same sort of template, but just maybe change the theme of a couple of activities and make them a bit cooler. But yes.
And you talked about, you know, the start of a game can then lead to other things. And Claire Prosser's talked about child-led play being really powerful. And this is like, once you start the idea, you can kind of get them to develop the game as it goes and get them to lead the way. And it comes to that play and that literacy, that's probably quite a powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you show them as well that literacy can be part of play, they might start doing it themselves. And over the first book, I heard from a few people saying that it was great to have the activities, and then they noticed after a while the kids were coming up with their own activities, and it became really fun because they were making up their own play activities a bit more, especially for kids that find that not all kids find like making play activities easy. So for kids that don't, yeah, that can be really cool. And I think the same with these literacy based ones. If you're bringing literacy into their play activities, you might find that then they start to do that themselves too, which is brilliant, because then off you go. You're doing loads of literacy building through play.
Exactly. And then as a parent as well, it gives you so many ideas and inspiration, and you find yourself, like certainly with the first book, find myself becoming more creative in the things that I was coming up with for the kids, because I'd got that inspiration and that kind of those ideas, and they start to percolate. You think, oh, perhaps I'll try it this way this time. And now one of our favorite games is a zip wire from the top of the stairs down to the bottom of the stairs with a teddy bear, and the teddy bear carries yeah, it's a teddy bear, yeah, and the teddy bear on a little coat hanger. You pin its ears to the coat hanger, and you can stick a little note in its mouth. It's an odd teddy bear. Anyway, it zips down the wire, and the kids have to read the piece of paper at the bottom. And that, I think, was inspired by one of your activities, and then another one that I'd seen on Instagram during lockdown, and then it's kind of evolved from there. So it really is fantastic to have that inspiration and those I can't think of the word, but that kind of allowance to kind of go and be creative, that you're still doing the right thing, it's just that you're doing it in a different way. And
yeah,
I think all the
empowers you a little bit to
empowering, that's the word. Yeah, we get a lot of stuff coming out of the school on like the homework, and you can feel a little disempowered, I guess, off that as a parent. As you kind of have to go through this, and actually this gives you the license to try new things.
Yeah.
Craig has asked, where can we share ideas that build on from the book?
Ooh, I'm on social media like literally all the time. So yeah, to tell me, and yeah, tag me on social media and share them. I've got a Facebook group. I don't use it as much as I should. Maybe I should use it more about play. So maybe that's something I'll look into. But yeah, if you tag me on social media, I'm happy to share ideas. And I like the idea of that we could sort of, yeah, build on ideas from the book and share how you've adapted them. I'd love to know how people adapt the activities and what you actually get up to. And do send me photos if you feel happy to. That's one of my favorite things, is actually seeing kids enjoying the activities. I think that's brilliant.
Absolutely.
I just read in the chat that it was that lady who the book came for a coffee.
Yeah. Happy hero. We sometimes need permission to know it's okay to steer away from typical learning activities, Claire has said. And Susie has said, I guess this book would be most useful for EYFS. We're going into secondary. Is there a possibility that year 8 and year 9 will be looking for more play-based learning as they approach their GCSEs?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think songs, I made up loads of songs approaching my GCSEs and A-levels. And I got a word wrong in one of the songs, and G tried to remind me of the right word. It was a chemistry exam. I did terribly at chemistry, and G was trying to remind me, and I couldn't get it out because I got this song properly stuck in my head of this it was some biochemistry, and I just couldn't get out because I'd been so like diligent in learning this song. So yeah, for older kids, for bringing all those play and different sensory ideas into learning, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely. I used to teach science, secondary science, and a lot of that is actually play. You know, we'd build cells out of Play-Doh and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely still have play. Like kids don't, I think this is what frustrates me, is that we seem to think when kids get to sort of 7 they stop playing, but they really don't, and it's just that play changes, and I think we need to embrace that, because yeah,
get any parents in an Inflator Nation kids party and you'll see just how much parents like to still play and bounce around on things and make fools out of themselves. We've got some other comments here about activities and how they'll be useful. Work in intervention with a variety of special needs such as delayed development and also selective mutism. This book may be good for this, as activities may suit as difficult to assess literacy with mutism. Yes, I can imagine that.
I put actually in the introduction as well about not dismissing kids. So for example, like a child who's pre-verbal or non-verbal, not dismissing them the pleasure of learning to read. And I think that's really important, that we remember that kids can still read and not be able to talk, and or not talk. And yeah, so yes, that's really good.
Loved that bit in the introduction, Dr. Sarah Mosley says.
Is
there anything you
had time? These people are amazed.
Question from Kat: is there anything you would have liked to include in the book but didn't have room for? It is a smaller book. G and I were just talking, it is slightly smaller than the first one because it didn't fit as close as well on G's bookshelves, the first one.
It's literally because of my bookshelf. This is why I wanted it to be shorter than the original one. And I had an idea.
Was there anything that you had to leave out?
Yeah, because then this fits on my bookshelf, so everybody's got to. Anyway, any ideas that I missed? That I don't think so. Maybe my mum would probably know, just because she has to read it all. So I can't remember. No, I think it was the first book where I accidentally wrote 101 ways your child can learn through play, and then we had to delete one. But no, I think I had just the right amount. I don't think there was one that I missed out.
Danny's just shared an example of using cake to create cells in Year 7 science. That sounds right up my alley, Danny. I wish I would have been a student in your class in Year 7 rather than in my class. I think I would have done better in my A-level chemistry if that had been the case. I'm sure, Helen, it didn't go wasted. I'm sure the cake didn't go wasted. Dr. Sarah Mosley said it'd be great to share and develop a bank of play-based ideas for older learners. I think that sounds like something that's worth following up on, putting together a group of people who are using that social media platform to share.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting, actually. If anyone is using it and adapting it for older learners, I'd be really interested to know what you do and how you do it. So do tell me.
Yeah, I think there's lots of enthusiasm coming through for that, so that would be good. So I think we're approaching the end of our questions. Thank you everyone very much for coming tonight. If you've got any further questions, I'm sure G will be more than happy to follow up on social media. Thank you all very much for engaging so well with us tonight, for your fantastic questions, for your comments, for your enthusiasm, and of course for your attendance here this evening. G, you've randomly selected someone who is going to win a copy of your book.
I hope that's share who that is. I did it near the beginning when Laura was being organised. Kay Wallace, is she around? The only problem is I can't see the person. Let me find if there's a Kay Wallace still. If you could write in the chat if you're still there. Kay, she is there. I can see her on the thing. Great. Well done, Kay. You get a copy of the book sent to you. Okay. Yes, she's put up a hand. Okay. Well done, Kay. If you can get in touch with Georgina outside of this through social media on Twitter or on Facebook. Are you and give her your details. Yeah, if I type my email address into the chat, if you can email me, Kay, I will sort out, and I might even sign it. Mine's signed. I know it is, yeah, very, very nicely in the front. Very exciting. I'm going to keep that for prosperity. I feel like a fraud when I'm signing books. I won't say that. No, I'm going to do it really professionally, Kay. It'll be great. So thank you, Kay. We'll arrange for that copy to be sent to you. Everyone else, thank you so much for coming tonight. It's been such a pleasure to see you all and to host you all. And Georgina, congratulations. It's an incredible achievement to have written one book, and to have written two is really quite outstanding. I'm incredibly proud of you, and I know everyone else here tonight is as well. So well done. Let's all help G in getting the message out about this fantastic resource on social media with friends and family. Leave some fantastic reviews, because as you know, that makes such a difference. Share and buy it for everyone you know for Christmas.
You've got that discount code for JKP as well. Make most of that until the end of November. And yeah, leave us a great review. So G, is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, just thank you so much. I'm just a little bit overwhelmed with how many people turned up. It's really, really lovely, and I really appreciate your help as well, Laura. I feel like you've now been roped into my to future
one about numeracy. Well. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. I really, really appreciate it, everybody. And yeah, giving up your evenings at 8 o'clock. I know lots of people have young kids as well, and I know how tricky that is to sort of balance everything. So thank you for giving up your time. I really appreciate it.
Well done, G, and thanks everyone. And hopefully I'll see you for the third one soon. No pressure. Take care, everyone. Thank you.